George, I know I'm an anthropologist, but I'm not at all sure if I can refer to myself as an Africanist or as a specialist in the North Africa, knowing that my fieldwork is made in the western regions of the Sahara. Where shall I put myself academically? That's my question.
Oh, Francisco, thank you very much. This is a very good question. I'm also dealing with this question because there seems to be a kind of division of labor between, on the one hand, the MENA region, this is Middle Eastern North African studies, and African studies, by which is meant mostly sub-Saharan studies. And which is left out, so to say, is the hugest desert in the world, which is the Sahara. So people working in the Sahara or neighboring regions, like in the northern Sahel or southern Sahel, do not really know where to put themselves, either to North African and Middle Eastern studies on the one hand, or to sub-Saharan studies on the other hand. And by the way, it's also interesting that the people themselves, they make this distinction between the whites in the north, in inverted commas, and the blacks in the south.
Do you think that the academic partition that exists has to do with the fact that Islam is
predominant
in the north and not in the south?
I think it's not due to that fact, because empirically Islam came to East Africa on the Swahili coast very early, and also crossed the Sahara very early, already in the 7th century and the beginning of the 8th century. And then also many Africans, I mean sub-Saharan Africans, are Muslims. Seen from Islamic studies, they still have a center-periphery approach, the center being the Hijaz and the Arab Peninsula, and all the rest is peripheral. There was also the political will by colonial powers to divide and rule, you know, to divide also in religious terms, to have a good Islam, which was the black Islam, and a bad Islam, which was the Arab Islam. I think we are now in a situation where we need to overcome this divide and this division between Middle Eastern North African studies on the one hand and sub-Saharan studies on the other hand. Why? Because the Sahara itself and the neighboring regions are at the center of political attention. It is true that for many decades people were not very interested in the Sahara, but with resources found in the ground, and nowadays with the jihadi movements, plus also migratory movements crossing the Sahara, the political attention of the world is on the Sahara itself. It's high time to overcome this old-fashioned division between North Africa and sub-Saharan Africa.
We can agree on that point, and we can also agree that there is a Saharan identity.
I found this question very interesting, and let me start with something which was a political project by the Libyan leader Muammar Gaddafi. He spoke of the Big Sahara, Sahara al-Kubra, or the Great Sahara, more or less, and he was claiming a particular identity for people living in the Sahara. His idea of a common identity are still around. I don't know if we can speak of an identity. This would be for an anthropologist perhaps too essentialist, but we could perhaps speak of common properties shared by the various groups in the Sahara. Common properties with regard to lifestyle. So dwellers of oases, then pastoralists or nomadic pastoralists, then traders crossing the Sahara and bringing goods from here and there or to the oases. In the old times, slave traders also, not only traders of goods, but also traders of people. And now we see a kind of revival of the transportation of people, because people in the Sahara are those ones who transport, so to say, immigrants to the Mediterranean shore or even to Europe.
The new caravans.
The new caravans and the new, we cannot say slave traders, but perhaps migrant traders in inverted commas.
Maybe I could add Islam and the pyramidal social structure, no?
Yes. The term tribe can be used in the North African context, the Middle Eastern context, and which is quite well established, but it is a non-word in sub-Saharan studies. You cannot speak of the tribes of the Bambara or the Hausa and so on and so forth. This is political incorrect.
Academic taboo.
Academic taboo, but even more, it was a pejorative term in the mouth of the colonizers. Francisco, I saw on your website of the project that you are working not only with colleagues from the global north, or the North Atlantic world, but also with colleagues from the Sahara. How is the collaboration between you and them? Let me explain. I asked that question because I worked in neighboring Guinea-Bissau, also with people from Guinea-Bissau and people from Germany mostly, and the collaboration was not always easy. What can you tell me about your collaboration?
The collaboration isn't always easy, and it can be pretty difficult, but I think I should do it. My idea is to establish valid scientific cooperation between both margins of the Mediterranean. I have people from France, Spain, the US, Portugal, and I have people from the Western Sahara, from Mauritania, and possibly from Morocco. We are recruiting right now. The idea is to have Europeans working with the local colleagues.
Yes, I think this is awesome. You are one of the few, or perhaps the only, projects which really tries to integrate the colleagues from the area in your team. Is this also due to questions of security or only partly to security?
In the north of the extended Western Saharan region, southern Morocco and Tindouf, there we have to be very cautious, and our local partners there, they are in fact connected with security or state apparatus that serve not only as academic experts to the team, but also for security reasons, for mobility, for formal documentation that is needed. But in Mauritania, to the present, the colleagues we have working on the project are there for strict scientific reasons.
Purposes, yeah, okay.
In regions of high risk, it's important and useful to incorporate local guys for those kinds of practical purposes, operative purposes.
Yes.
I imagine in your area you should have also a high security.
Yes, in fact,
team,
the composition of your team and your approaches are a model for our research, because we want to imitate this particular approach of integration of local scholars or national scholars with scholars coming from abroad. So you are, so to say, a role model for us, the CAPSAHARAN project.
This is I wouldn't say a pilot project, but we're experimenting, but I think we'll see the results in 2-3 years, but I think that's the proper way to do it.
And the last question I wanted to ask you is about the as you are working with colleagues from Mauritania and Morocco and so on and so forth, what about the impact in these different countries with regard to the transfer of knowledge? So your project is producing knowledge, as they say, even though I do not like the term producing knowledge. But in any case, there will be articles, there will be other outputs, perhaps. What do you plan in this regard?
With an ERC scholarship, you have to do a strict policy of benefit sharing. That's
Yes,
the
that's the term.
official term for this kind of situation you were mentioning. And yes, besides the publications, many of which co-authored between Europeans and Saharans, we will also do local workshops, local formation actions in the three locations of the project. Yes, we hope to do that. This benefit sharing policy is effective and for real. In September 2019, I'm hosting the annual meeting of the team in Nouakchott.
Oh, which is very good, yes.
Hosted by a local research center and with some activities open to the scientific and public
community
there. So that's one very concrete effort in benefit sharing. I hope many more will come.
Thank you.
I thank you. No,
شورك تكلي وعتي صار